The marble floor was so polished it looked like a mirror. And in that mirror, Layla Brooks saw herself, on her knees scrubbing the dirt from around 5 pairs of glossy black shoes. The air smelled of champagne, sweat, and power. Her rag trembled in her hand not because of fear, but because of rage. "Harder!" barked a voice above her. The chief operations officer, Ethan Cross, leaned forward, his Italian leather shoe inches from her face. "You missed a spot. My shoes cost more than your entire salary." Around him, 4 other executives laughed. Their laughter echoed against the marble walls, bouncing like cruel applause. One of them, Vice President Mark Turner, lifted his phone, recording. "This will go viral," he sneered. Layla said nothing. She wiped. She memorized every face, every smirk, every voice that told her she was less. They didn't know it yet. But they had just handed her the weapon that would destroy them all, 12 hours earlier. The rising sun reflected off the tall glass building of Arcton Financial, one of the city's most powerful corporations. Layla arrived wearing her freshly pressed cleaning uniform, the badge of her contracted service pinned neatly on her chest. 52 years of life. 52 years of experience, grace, and unbroken dignity. At the security gate, the guard barely glanced up. "ID," she offered it politely. He frowned, flipping it back and forth. "Another one." Layla handed her driver's license. He made her wait, 10 minutes, then 20. She watched younger cleaners, all white, walk through without question. Finally, the head of maintenance arrived. "You're assigned to the top floor and executive level," he said. His tone was flat, almost resentful. "Why me?" she asked quietly. They specifically asked for someone with experience. The words sounded like a warning, not a compliment. As she stepped into the elevator, he added, "Keep your head down. Don't talk unless they talk first." The exec floor has its own rules. The elevator rose in silence. When the doors opened, the scent of luxury poured out. Fresh orchids, polished mahogany, imported leather. Every inch whispered power. Layla set her cleaning cart neatly by the wall and began dusting, calm and methodical. She believed in doing her job well, no matter who watched. But when she entered the conference room, something caught her eye. A pile of printed documents scattered across the table, names highlighted in yellow. Notes in red. Layla froze when she saw the headings. Restructuring targets, Phase 2. Most names belonged to employees over 45. Many marked with notations like low adaptability or cost reduction. Before she could look closer, a sharp voice sliced through the silence. "The help is here." Ethan Cross walked in, followed by Mark Turner. Layla lowered her eyes respectfully. "Coffee?" "Black," Ethan said without looking at her. "Sir, I'm with the cleaning service," Layla replied softly. "Not catering." Ethan's head turned. His gaze swept over her like a scanner searching for a flaw. "I don't care what service you're from. When an executive gives an order, you follow it." Layla met his eyes. Calm, steady. "I'd be happy to show you where the coffee station is, sir." Mark chuckled behind him. Ethan's jaw tightened. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Watch your tone, woman. Don't forget your place." That afternoon, the sound of running water echoed in the executive restroom as Layla scrubbed the marble sinks. The door opened. Ethan and Mark entered mid-conversation, laughing. "The board won't question us if we deliver results," Ethan said, rolling up his sleeves. "You just target the right people." Mark leaned casually against the wall. "Legal says age discrimination claims are rising." "Then we adjust the reviews," Ethan replied coldly. "Simple. Older staff, minorities, their liabilities. Replace them and productivity goes up." Layla's hands froze on the sink. She kept her eyes down, pretending to polish the counter. Then she heard it. The name of an employee she knew. That woman in marketing. Carla Robinson. Over 50. High salary, old ideas. Ethan's voice was ice. "Replace her." Layla's stomach turned. She tried to steady her breath. But when she reached for a towel, their eyes met in the mirror. Ethan's expression changed instantly. His voice turned low, sharp as a blade. "Didn't your people ever learn it's rude to eavesdrop?" "Phil, relax," Mark muttered. "She's just cleaning." "No," Ethan said, stepping closer. She was listening. Layla stood straight. Her voice steady. "I'm only here to clean, sir." "Empty your pockets." She did. Only her cleaning supplies and a small lunchbox. Ethan scowled. Know your place if you want to keep this job. Layla nodded. Perfectly, sir. As she left, she heard Mark whisper, maybe we should make an example of her tonight. The words clung to her like smoke. Night fell over the Arcton Tower. The regular employees had gone home, but lights still burned on the top floor. Layla moved quietly from office to office, emptying bins, tidying desks. From the conference room came loud laughter, glasses clinking, voices slurred from alcohol. Ethan stepped into the hallway, his face flushed. You there? Cleaning lady? Come here. Layla followed him inside. 6 executives lounged around the table, expensive whiskey bottles scattered among open reports. Ethan raised his glass. Gentlemen, I promised some entertainment. The men turned toward her, grinning. Our cleaning lady will demonstrate her skills, Ethan said. Show us how well you clean. Layla's heart thudded in her chest. That's not part of my job, she said quietly. Ethan's smile disappeared. Your job is whatever I say it is. He leaned close. Unless you'd prefer to lose it. For a moment, she thought of her daughter, her tuition due next month, the rent, the medical bills. Then she knelt. Slowly. Good, Ethan said, placing his shoe in front of her face. Now make it shine. The room erupted in laughter. Mark began filming. Use your hands, another man said. Chemicals might ruin the leather. Layla's fingers trembled, but her mind sharpened. She memorized every face, every word. While they drank and mocked her, she slipped her phone from her pocket and pressed record. What's your name? One executive asked lazily. Layla Brooks, she said clearly. Ethan raised his glass. Well, Layla Brooks, welcome to the bottom of the company ladder. Her face stayed calm, but behind her eyes a storm began to rise. When she finally locked herself in the restroom, Layla stared into the mirror. Her reflection looked back, calm, steady, furious. This ends tonight, she whispered. She checked her phone. 38 minutes of video, clear sound. Every insult captured. She took a deep breath and made a call. Jason, it's happening again, she said softly. The voice on the other end was calm. Tell me everything. As she spoke, her trembling stopped, because now she wasn't just cleaning floors. She was cleaning out corruption. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the glass walls of Arcton Financial's lobby. Layla arrived early, her uniform crisp, her expression unreadable. But inside her chest, her heart was pounding with purpose. Before she could reach the elevator, her supervisor called out, Layla, change of plans. You've been reassigned. She paused. To where? He glanced at his clipboard. Top floor again. The executive specifically asked for you. Layla hid her surprise behind a polite nod. Of course. The supervisor handed her a new keycard. Don't make me regret this. As the elevator climbed, she stared at her reflection in the steel door. They thought she was powerless. They thought she'd kneel again. But this time she was climbing with proof. When the doors opened, she stepped into silence. The air was cold, sterile. Desks perfectly arranged. She moved methodically, wiping surfaces while her eyes scanned every document, every file. Her phone camera clicked silently inside her apron. In Ethan Cross's office, a printer hummed. Fresh reports slid into the tray, covered in corporate jargon, but one line froze her breath. Restructuring Phase 3, priority on non-essential senior staff. The attached spreadsheet listed names and ages. Everyone over 45 was marked in red. Layla took a photo of each page. The evidence was stacking up. The door opened suddenly. Ethan stood there, his face hard. What are you doing? His voice was sharp. She held up her cleaning cloth. My job. Near the printer? He stepped closer. Looks like you're snooping. I'm cleaning, she said quietly. Give me one reason not to have you fired. Layla looked up calmly. Because firing without cause might raise suspicion. His eyes narrowed. You're either brave or stupid. He smirked, straightening his tie. Let's see which. From that moment, he began to torment her. He'd call her into meetings just to make her clean a spilled drink in front of everyone. He'd drop papers on purpose and make her pick them up one by one. When she moved too efficiently, he'd snap. Slower. I want to see you crawl. Each time she obeyed silently, but in her pocket her phone recorded every word. Every command. Every insult. One afternoon as she passed through the hallway, she heard Mark Turner shouting. Through the glass walls, a young black employee stood frozen before him. This is basic work, Jenna, he barked. If you can't handle it, maybe this company isn't for you. Tears welled in the woman's eyes. I understand. When Mark stormed off, Layla entered quietly. You okay? The young woman nodded too quickly. Yes, it's fine. No, it's not, Layla said gently, handing her a tissue. Has this been happening long? Jenna hesitated. Since the new restructuring started, everyone older or non-white suddenly can't do anything right. My last review was perfect. Now it's all criticism. Layla listened carefully. Then she closed the restroom door behind them. What if I told you I could prove it? She showed Jenna a short clip from her recordings. Ethan ordering her to her knees. The executives laughing. Jenna's hand flew to her mouth. They actually did this? They did worse, Layla said quietly. And it's not just us. It's systematic. That night, Layla met with Jenna and two others from accounting and IT in a quiet corner of the cafeteria. Each of them shared the same story. Flawless. Performance until suddenly labeled unfit. Too slow. Or not a culture fit. They want us gone before we reach retirement age, said an older man with gray hair. They're replacing us with cheaper hires. They're covering it with fake reviews, added another. It's deliberate. Layla leaned in. Then we gather proof together, emails, reviews, memos, anything that shows a pattern. We'll make them answer for this. They didn't notice Mark across the room, snapping a photo of the group before leaving. The next morning, security escorted Layla into Ethan's office. He sat behind his desk, smiling like a man about to enjoy something. You've been busy, he said, stirring up trouble among my employees. Mark slid a tablet toward her. On the screen was footage from security cameras, her group meeting in the cafeteria. Gathering complaints, spreading discontent. That's dangerous behavior. Ethan leaned back in his chair. Two choices, Ms. Brooks. You resign today with a neutral record, or what? She asked evenly. Mark smirked. Or we terminate you for theft. He held up a silver pen. Found this in your cleaning cart. Layla stared at it. I've never seen that before. Ethan shrugged. Your word against ours. She didn't flinch. Then I'll keep my word. Ethan's face darkened. You misunderstand. This isn't a negotiation. He pressed the intercom. Send in the executive team. 5 men entered, including Mark. Even the younger one, Ryan, looked uneasy. Ethan pointed to a trash can. Show us how it's done properly. He kicked it over, scattering paper across the floor. Layla knelt, gathering the papers slowly. One man stepped on her hand. Oops, he said, grinning. Another spilled coffee near her knees. Better clean that too. Their laughter was thick, ugly. Ethan raised his voice. This is what happens when people forget their place. Take notes, gentlemen. Layla's hand slipped into her pocket. She pressed record again. Ryan shifted uncomfortably. We have a meeting in 5 minutes, he muttered. This is more important, Mark said sharply. Stay. Ethan circled Layla like a predator. Tonight, gentlemen, we'll show our clients what discipline looks like. He smirked down at her. You'll be part of the demonstration. Layla finished cleaning, rose to her feet, and met his eyes. Of course, sir, she said quietly. He waved dismissively, already laughing with his friends. In the hallway, she checked her phone. The recording was perfect. Her fingers flew over the screen as she sent a single message. Tonight, bring everything. And for the first time in days, she smiled. Not out of relief, but because she knew what was coming next. The stage was set. And this time, Layla Brooks wasn't cleaning floors. She was about to clean house. The night of the gala arrived wrapped in glitter and arrogance. Arcton Financial's penthouse shimmered under chandeliers worth more than some people's homes. The city stretched below, lights twinkling like distant witnesses to what was about to unfold. Layla pushed her cleaning cart through the service entrance, calm and deliberate. Her uniform was spotless, her hair neatly pinned back. No one looked twice at her. They never did. Inside the grand hall, executives laughed too loudly, drinks in hand. Their confidence was intoxicating, a shield against accountability. The CEO, Charles Reeve, stood near the stage, surrounded by board members and investors. When he raised his glass, the room quieted. Another record quarter, he announced proudly. Efficiency, innovation, and discipline made this happen. Applause erupted. Ethan stood nearby, smiling like a man who believed he was untouchable. When the clapping subsided, Charles gestured toward him. And now, Our COO, Ethan Cross, has prepared a special presentation. Ethan strode to the center of the room, microphone in hand, voice dripping confidence. Before we begin, I have a little entertainment for you all, he said with a wink. A demonstration of Arcton's commitment to hard work and humility. He turned toward the back. Layla, come join us. The crowd shifted, murmuring. A cleaning woman at a gala was an odd sight, but Ethan's smirk silenced any protest. Layla walked forward slowly. The marble floor gleamed beneath her feet. Every step carried the weight of everything she'd endured. Ethan gestured to the floor. You all see this? Even our cleaning staff knows the value of hard work. Show them how it's done, Layla. Make it shine. The audience chuckled, thinking it a harmless joke. But when Ethan leaned closer and whispered, "On your knees," something in the air changed. Layla hesitated for a fraction of a second. Then, without a word, she knelt. The crowd's laughter was uneasy now, unsure of what they were witnessing. Now that's dedication, Ethan said smugly. If only every employee were that obedient. A door at the far end of the hall opened. The sound of polished shoes echoed against marble. A tall man entered, flanked by 4 others carrying briefcases. Their presence immediately drew attention. Their posture was not that of guests, it was that of authority. Please, the man said in a calm, resonant voice. Don't stop on our account. This is enlightening. Ethan's smirk faltered. Who are you? This is a private event. Layla stood up, removing her cleaning smock. Underneath, she wore a tailored navy blazer. Her voice was steady and clear. Allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Layla Brooks, senior partner at Brooks & Hayes Legal Associates, specialist in workplace discrimination and corporate misconduct. The room fell silent, utterly silent. Ethan's jaw tightened. What kind of game is this? No game, Layla replied. Just truth. The man beside her stepped forward, setting a laptop on the stage table. Jason Hayes, he said, former federal investigator. We represent 47 current and former employees of Arcton Financial. He clicked a key. The massive projector screen behind the stage lit up. The video began. Ethan's voice filled the hall. Harder. My shoes cost more than your rent. Laughter echoed from the speakers. Mark's voice followed, clear and cruel. Use your hands. Make it shine. Every gasp in the audience landed like a hammer. Ethan lunged forward. Turn that off. Jason didn't move. This is only the beginning. The video shifted to clips of executive meetings. Ethan and Mark discussing how to reduce older, high-cost staff. Emails on screen showed lists of targeted employees marked for removal. Graphs followed, termination rates by age, by race, by department. Every chart screamed guilt. This investigation has been ongoing for 3 months, Layla said, her voice steady. We found doctored performance reviews, falsified HR records, and a pattern of targeted discrimination stretching back 5 years. The CEO took a step forward, pale. I had no knowledge of this. Layla turned toward him. Your signature is on every restructuring order, Mr. Reeve, the ones that explicitly prioritized demographic optimization. A board member stood abruptly. Is this true? Jason handed him a packet. See for yourself. Cameras flashed. Phones recorded. Mark Turner tried to slip out the back, but a security guard blocked him. Ryan, the young executive who had always looked uneasy, walked to Layla's side. I have additional documentation, he said firmly, pulling a flash drive from his pocket. Emails, minutes from meetings. I couldn't stay silent anymore. Layla nodded. Thank you, Ryan. Ethan's face was a mask of panic and rage. You set us up. No, she said softly. You exposed yourselves. I just made sure the world could see it. Jason turned to the audience. We will be filing a full federal lawsuit first thing in the morning. The evidence is overwhelming. What you witnessed tonight is not just unethical. It's illegal. The CEO tried to speak, but the board had already begun to move. Phones buzzing, attorneys whispering, investors walking out. The room that had been filled with laughter was now filled with whispers of ruin. Ethan tried one last defense. "You'll regret this, Layla." She looked at him, her voice low and steady. "I already did. Until tonight." The screen froze on his face, smirking, cruel, forever captured in humiliation. Outside, as Layla stepped into the night, flashes from reporters lit up the sky. Microphones thrust toward her, questions flying. "Ms. Brooks, why pretend to be a cleaner?" She met their eyes one by one. "Because corruption hides behind closed doors. Sometimes to expose it, you have to walk through those doors quietly." Another reporter shouted, "Was it worth the humiliation?" She paused, then answered, "Ask the people who lost their jobs because of prejudice. Ask the families who couldn't pay their bills. That's who this is for." Behind her, Arcton's tower stood glowing and silent, like a giant that had just been struck through the heart. By dawn, every news outlet carried the story. Cleaning lady exposes corporate scandal. Executives fired amid discrimination allegations. Layla Brooks leads class action. And in that quiet moment before sunrise, Layla allowed herself the smallest smile. Not of victory, but of justice finally beginning to stir. By the next morning, chaos rippled through every floor of Arcton Financial. The building that once smelled of power now reeked of fear. Executives whispered in hallways. Phones rang nonstop. The news anchors outside the lobby repeated Layla's name again and again. Inside the boardroom, CEO Charles Reeves sat at the head of a long, polished table, his hands trembling slightly as he read the headlines. Corporate scandal. Discrimination lawsuit. Executives caught on camera humiliating staff. Each word carved deeper into his composure. Across from him, the company's legal team was already stacked with folders and open laptops. "We need containment," said one attorney. "This will destroy investor confidence." Reeves slammed his palm on the table. "Then fix it." The attorney didn't flinch. "We can't fix what's already public, sir." Security entered minutes later with Ethan Cross and Mark Turner in tow. Their badges had already been deactivated. Both men looked drained, pale, and hollow-eyed. Ethan's voice was hoarse when he spoke. "You can't do this to me. I made this company what it is." Reeves' voice cracked as he answered, "You made it a headline." By noon, HR announced their suspensions. By evening, security escorted them out with boxes of their belongings. Cameras flashed as reporters shouted questions from the sidewalk. Ethan's jaw was clenched, his pride shattered. Mark muttered something about unfair editing, but no one listened. Inside the office, ordinary employees gathered near the windows, whispering as they watched their former bosses disappear into waiting cars. For the first time in years, silence settled over the executive floor. At the same time across town, Layla and Jason walked out of the federal courthouse surrounded by journalists. Their class action lawsuit had been officially filed, 47 plaintiffs, all backed by evidence that left no room for denial. Layla's steps were calm, but her eyes burned with purpose. "Ms. Brooks, how strong is your case?" one reporter asked. She answered simply, "We don't bring weak cases." Another asked, "Do you think Arcton can recover from this?" She looked straight into the cameras. "Recovery starts with accountability. If they refuse that, they won't recover at all." Her words played on every network before the day ended. Inside Arcton's headquarters, panic had turned into strategy sessions that went nowhere. The PR director's voice trembled as she read drafts of official statements. "This incident does not reflect our company's values." Someone scoffed. "Then what does reflect them?" No one answered. In the following days, internal emails surfaced, leaks from frightened employees who wanted to clear their conscience. Memos showed deliberate bias in hiring. Reports revealed how HR had been told to shred complaints instead of investigating them. Each revelation hit the company like another wave breaking over a sinking ship. The board convened an emergency session. Their faces were grim, eyes shadowed with sleeplessness. The lead counsel summarized quietly. "The evidence is overwhelming. The language in those emails alone is indefensible. You could fight this, but the damage will multiply." Reeve leaned forward, voice low. "What do you suggest?" "Settle, admit wrongdoing. Pay what it takes. Reform the structure before the regulators do it for you." Meanwhile, in Ethan's luxury apartment across the city, the curtains were drawn tight. His lawyers sat at his dining table surrounded by paper. One of them closed his laptop after a long silence. They have everything. Recordings, documents, corroboration from your own staff. Ethan paced, glass of whiskey in hand. She tricked me. She infiltrated under false pretenses. The lawyer shook his head. She was legally employed through an outside contractor. You invited your own downfall. Mark, slumped on the sofa, muttered, You said nobody would believe her. Ethan's glare was venom, and I was wrong, apparently. Completely, said the lawyer. The others are already negotiating plea deals. You'll be lucky to avoid criminal charges. While they argued, Layla was back in her modest office surrounded by folders. Her legal team was growing daily. Lawyers, paralegals, interns, all working late into the night. On her desk lay the names of every employee wronged, their stories neatly organized into files. Jenna's name was there. So was the older accountant who had been fired months before. So were dozens of others who had been told they were no longer a good fit. Jason entered, holding a fresh report. You might want to see this. The company's stock dropped another 18% this morning. Major clients are suspending contracts. Layla nodded slowly. Let it fall. Maybe then they'll understand what discrimination really costs. Over the next week, the media storm only intensified. Talk shows debated ethics in corporate America. Financial analysts dissected the company's collapse. Social media filled with hashtags calling for reform. Employees began speaking publicly, their voices shaking but determined. Jenna appeared on a morning broadcast, sitting across from a journalist. For months I thought I was failing, she said. They made me doubt myself. Now I know it wasn't me, it was them. Her words resonated far beyond Arcton's walls. Soon hundreds of workers from other companies started sharing similar stories. Layla watched those interviews with quiet satisfaction. It had started with her humiliation, but it was becoming something much bigger. 2 weeks later, Arcton's board reached out to negotiate. They wanted silence. The offer was enormous. Millions in damages, provided none of the plaintiffs spoke publicly about the company again. When Jason handed Layla the documents, he said, It's standard. They want this buried. Layla read every clause carefully, her jaw set. This doesn't fix anything, she said finally. Jason studied her. It's a lot of money, Layla. So was their silence, she replied. We're not taking it. At the next meeting, surrounded by the 47 plaintiffs, she explained her stance. I know what this means. I know what they're offering could change lives. But if we stay quiet, nothing changes. They'll just do it again, to someone else. The room was heavy with emotion. A few nodded slowly. One woman wiped tears. An older man said softly, Then let's do this right. Their counterproposal went back to Arcton's lawyers within 24 hours. It demanded not just compensation, but reform, public accountability, transparent hiring practices, diversity audits, and ongoing oversight. When Ethan's attorney read the list, he muttered, They don't want money. They want blood. No, another lawyer corrected him. They want change. For weeks, negotiations stretched on. Every day, new leaks hit the press. Every night, Layla's team gathered more proof. And finally, cornered and exhausted, Arcton Financial agreed to every term. The day the settlement was announced, Layla stood at a podium surrounded by reporters. Her voice carried the calm strength of someone who had been silenced once and vowed never to be again. This case was never about revenge, she said. It was about truth, about dignity, about the belief that every worker, no matter their title, deserves respect. Flashes of cameras lit up her face as she continued. Arcton's new policies will set an example for the industry. But this isn't the end. It's the beginning of how we rebuild fairness one company at a time. The crowd erupted in applause. Behind her, the plaintiffs stood together, a mosaic of age, race, and background, united by what they had survived. And for the first time in years, the Tower of Arcton no longer looked like a fortress of power. It looked like a lesson carved in glass. Months passed, but the echo of the scandal never faded. Arcton Financial's glass tower still stood tall, but everything inside had changed. The executives' corner offices were empty. New names appeared on the doors. The whispers that once filled hallways with fear were gone, replaced by cautious greetings and nervous hope. Ethan Cross vanished from the public eye. His $1 million condo was quietly sold. Reporters said he lived alone now, facing lawsuits and investigations that had no end in sight. Mark Turner accepted a plea deal and turned witness, confirming every ugly truth the recordings revealed. The old guard of Arcton had collapsed, and in its place something new began to rise. Layla Brooks sat in her new office on the 20th floor of a downtown building that bore her firm's name, Brooks and Hayes Legal. The walls were lined with framed case summaries, each representing a victory for workers who had once been voiceless. The air smelled faintly of coffee and paper, simple, grounded, honest. Jason entered holding a folder. "They signed it," he said. Layla looked up. "All of it?" "Every term. Full transparency reports. Equal pay audits. Whistleblower protections. Even public disclosure of hiring demographics. They agreed to all of it." Layla closed her eyes for a brief moment. "Then it's real. It's finally real." News broke the same day. Historic Settlement Forces corporate overhaul. Arcton Financial admits to systemic bias. The markets trembled, but something else happened too. Investors began rewarding companies that showed fairness and accountability. The culture was shifting. Arcton's fall had become the industry's wake-up call. The following month, Layla returned to Arcton for the first time since that night. The lobby had been renovated. New leadership, new tone, new policies. She was invited to speak to the employees, many of whom had survived the storm. When she stepped to the podium, silence filled the atrium. She looked around at the faces before her, some wary, some hopeful. "I came here months ago wearing a cleaning uniform," she began. "I came here invisible. But I saw everything, the fear, the injustice, the silence. And I realized something. Change doesn't start in boardrooms or courtrooms. It starts with people who refuse to kneel to cruelty." Her voice softened but carried through every corner of the hall. "You have a chance to rebuild this place, not just for profit, but for principle. Let that be Arcton's true legacy." When she finished, the applause rose slowly, then thundered. Even the security guards standing by the door clapped. Later that afternoon, she met with Ryan, the young executive who had handed her the flash drive that night. He now carried a new title, Vice President of Ethics and Inclusion. "You really changed everything," he said, shaking his head. "No," she replied. "We all did. You spoke up. They listened. That's how it starts." Across the city, Jenna sat in her new corner office at another firm, now a director overseeing inclusion programs. Her once shaken voice had grown confident, steady. In interviews, she credited Layla for showing her what courage looked like. "You don't have to be powerful to make a difference," Jenna told one interviewer. "You just have to be brave long enough to start." At universities, professors began teaching the Brooks case as a landmark example of corporate accountability. Law students studied her tactics, undercover employment, data tracking, evidence preservation, as a model of ethical whistleblowing. Even government committees quoted her work while drafting new labor protection reforms. But for Layla, the truest victory wasn't in the headlines. It was quieter. It was the email from an Arcton janitor thanking her for giving him back his dignity. It was the call from a single mother who kept her job because her company adopted the new fairness policies. It was seeing new graduates inspired by her fight, joining her firm with determination in their eyes. One bright spring morning, Layla walked across the campus of her alma mater to meet a group of scholarship recipients. 5 students, each from underrepresented backgrounds, were receiving full funding through the Workplace Justice Fellowship, established in her name. When one of them asked why she chose to go undercover instead of using her title, she smiled softly. "Because truth hides where no one's looking. Sometimes you have to meet it on the floor." That night, she returned home to her apartment. The same cleaning uniform hung in her closet, carefully pressed and untouched. She ran her fingers along the fabric, remembering the cold marble, the cruel laughter. The moment everything changed, the uniform was no longer a symbol of humiliation. It was a reminder of strength. Her phone buzzed, a message from Jason. Another company just reached out. They want help reforming their policies before problems start. Layla typed back, "Schedule a meeting. Let's keep cleaning up the world." She placed the phone down, looking out her window at the city skyline. The lights shimmered like promises waiting to be kept. And somewhere deep in her chest she felt peace. Not the quiet kind, but the powerful calm of someone who had fought, bled, and finally prevailed. Because justice wasn't a single moment in court. It was every day someone stood up and said enough, and as long as there were people willing to do that, Layla Brooks knew her work would never truly end. The world had changed. and she had changed it.